The gift to the University of Cambridge from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2000 was enormously transformative for this university.
The Gates scholarships are unique, I think, in that what the scholars are engaged in terms of their work, must be to the benefit of mankind in some way.
Some of our students come from incredibly privileged backgrounds, and they've been at Stanford and Princeton. Some walk 6 hours a day to go to class across battlefields in Lebanon and Pakistan.
Meeting with them, as I did once a year, was an oasis of kind of inspiration. They just made you feel good about the world.
These sorts of schemes, well, they're forever responsibilities because it's a lifetime endowment. So you can't just burn the money. You've got to make sure this thing's going on forever.
This is a very simple task. You're given this huge sum of money and you're told to give it away. Actually, it's incredibly difficult to give money away sensibly.
It was the magical coming together of a foundation that had a budget to play with. They wanted to create a global impact, and they had found the best institution in the world to partner with. You don't get that recipe too often.
It is a story of optimism. It begins at a very small and human scale, but it builds from that to be a story collectively of large-scale global impact.
The Gates Cambridge Trust is just this really extraordinary benefaction that has led to a flowering of talent across disciplines, across the world. That's what's very special about it.
So in early 1998, I was appointed as the director of the Cambridge University office in the US. And one of the first tasks that was given to me by headquarters, so to speak, was to go to Seattle to meet Bill Gates Sr. He took me to lunch. But the most important moment was, Bill turned to me and said, "Now, John, you've been in the job now a few months. What's your biggest challenge?" It was a fair question, and I hadn't really considered the answer, so I thought for a moment, and I said, "Well, I think the biggest challenge is that we're not Oxford." So he looked a bit puzzled. He said, What do you mean by that?" So I explained to him that Cambridge had nothing like the Rhodes for profile, and this is why Oxford had a home court advantage in the US. We just didn't have that same profile that they had. So he was a very thoughtful man, very purposeful. He thought for a moment and he said to me, "Well, what would it take to do that at Cambridge?" Well, I had no idea, and it was literally one of those back of the envelope moments. I said, "It's got to be upward of $200 million. It has to be." He didn't look a bit fazed. I went back to New York, and the first thing I did was call the Vice Chancellor, Sir Alec Browers.
We had already decided what the university would really like would be a major international scholarship scheme.
Alec, to his great credit, said to me, "Listen," he said, "take this idea and run with it as long as you can without getting anyone here involved. Don't tell anyone in Cambridge." Because he rightly thought that if it was to go to a committee here, it would go nowhere. I still think that was the smartest decision with the most forethought that I've ever in my whole career encountered.
In dealing with this scholarship scheme, I had to take a position. We were not going to change Cambridge, as it were, and if this scholarship scheme is really to fit Cambridge, it should be all subjects. And also, as we're an international university, it should be all countries. And I can remember being quite nervous for a while that perhaps we'd blown it by asking for too much. But in the end, Bill Sr. was a very considerate man, so we just discussed this issue in some detail. We said, okay, 40% of the students will come from America, and the other 60% will come from all around the world.
I get a call then one day, and it's Bill Sr. again, and he said, "Well, we sent 20 ideas to Bill and Melinda for their consideration. And I think most of them, 17 or 18, came back as no's. They were written off. And the final one, which was ours, they'd written beside it, "We like this, write this up." I think we submitted it by, the end of October 98, and in May 1999 we got word that it was approved, and the first half was wired to the foundation office in New York, the Cambridge University Development Office. The rest is history.
I remember we got the check, and my PA, she counted the zeros from the right. You see, there's 8 zeros there. And this is sort of the scale of the thing at that time. And this is, you see, more than 20 years ago now. And it was absolutely vast sum of money. We made the decision in New York that our first priority would be to find somebody who would help us establish a large scholarship scheme.
Alec Brewers asked me if I would take on the role of being provost of the trust, because he felt it was important to have someone who would, shall I say, have the tact to implement the trust and to make it work. The programme was not finally approved by both sides until December, and they wanted scholars in place the following October. The deal was that there would be 220 scholars.
We needed, in the end, to move quite fast. We needed the expertise and the contacts around the world to get the scholarship in place. And we did that by combining and working with the Cambridge Overseas Trust that was doing that already. Perhaps the most difficult key challenge was to integrate this scholarship scheme into the collegiate university.
It's a basic fact of university life that you've got these highly intelligent, highly principled people, and they all need jollying along. It's really a matter of being nice to people and of encouraging people to be nice to each other. That's the role, really, when you get down to it.
So I was Vice-Chancellor of this university from 2003 to 2010. The main priorities of the Gates programme when I arrived, it was making sure that it was widely known around the world, making sure that the process for selecting students was thorough and thoughtful. But the truth of the matter is, from the earliest day, it really wasn't about priorities. It was about sort of the unequivocal joy of being involved in this programme.
The Gates Cambridge Trust was set up to run this scholarship scheme. And we set up this board, and that board has representation from the Gates Foundation. And we had 2 members, Bill Gates Sr. and Bill Gerberding, who had been the president of Washington State University. And that worked really extremely well.
Bill Sr. didn't really know anything about Cambridge, and it baffled him, it intrigued him, and he wanted to find out. And Bill Gerberding was very good at being able to say what these unreasonable academics are wanting and are doing is actually perfectly reasonable. We would have a trustees meeting in the States and a trustees meeting in Cambridge, and we made a clear arrangement that the trustees, including Bill, would be exposed to the students, and Bill Sr. really liked that.
In the course of those meetings, Bill Sr. would address the Gates scholars, and he held up for them a vision of what their future might look like.
You and I want the world to be a better place, We want it to be better for us, but more than that, we're very anxious that it be better for as near to everybody as we can possibly make it.
He also spoke with such pride and affection of his son. That was really transformational. It transformed Bill Gates, who everybody had heard of, into being the remarkable son of this remarkable man. And it was really moving. And that happened every year. Bill Sr. would speak every year, and every year a new cohort of these students would come away with stars in their eyes.
One of the ways to make the world a better place is to have more smarter, energetic people in it. That is a direct consequence of this program and others like it.
Bill and Melinda Gates came on the 10th anniversary when they got honorary degrees.
We're very pleased with the scholarship program. Great kids who are going to go out and change the world. We've been looking forward to the opportunity to be part of the ceremony and greatly enjoyed it.
We had a reception in the garden here at Wolfson. The students were very pleased to meet them. Insofar as one could boast of a success, it is that the scholarships became established and routine and accepted and wanted.
It's a particular pleasure for me too to welcome back members of the Gates family, notably, as he himself modestly puts it, the father of you-know-who.
My main objectives on taking over the provostship in 2010 were to make this program far better known and to give it an identity both within Cambridge and beyond Cambridge. One of the other things that we did was to reinforce the link with the foundation itself. It was for that reason that we invited Mimi Gates to become one of the trustees, and that I think has been sustained.
I was provost of the trust from 2013 until 2022. The trust was entering its second decade. It had been launched very successfully under the leadership of Gordon Johnson and then Robert Lethbridge, and had survived its adolescence, if you like. And my role was to take it into adulthood by refining our processes, making sure we had the best scholars admitted with the best fit for Cambridge and the Trust, and also enhancing the scholarship community and the scholarship itself.
I'm told that the balance between master's degrees and PhDs has shifted hugely. And this is important because in terms of the cutting edge research, the PhD is the route, if you like, to genuinely pioneering and original ideas in all sorts of fields.
The Gates program went far beyond being just general funding for graduate programs. There was a vision that was global and a focus not just on students who were really bright, which they were, but students who, wanted to make the world a better place in a really serious way.
Every year I looked forward to and loved the intellectual challenge and excitement of the process of selection, knowing that for many of them a life-changing opportunity would be given to them to come to Cambridge and do their postgraduate studies. Just talking about that makes me feel excited even now.
I don't think that throughout my entire 40-year academic career, I have met such an exceptional group of young people. They were really staggeringly impressive.
What you're doing is producing effective, thoughtful leadership. It may seem small, but over 20 years, we're talking about quite a few thoughtful, sophisticated, well-motivated leaders.
This is really an elite which is going to determine many of the futures of the world. That's not to put it too strongly.
The Gates Cambridge program is enormously prestigious in the US. As a professor, I had several students set their sights on achieving a Gates Cambridge fellowship.
The Gates Scholarship Scheme, I think, was very important in maintaining Cambridge's international position.
The attachment of the Gates name to something at Cambridge as important and significant as this, I think helped to tell a story about Cambridge being a place that, with its eyes on the future.
That is one of the essences to a successful university. You've got to keep moving. The scholarship scheme was just part of that endless evolution and progress.
So I'm Alish Ferguson, I'm the Provost of the Gates Cambridge Trust, and I'm a Professor in the Law Faculty at Cambridge. In the next few years, the 25th anniversary will be a time of celebration of achievement, but also thinking forward to what we do in the next 25 years.
This scholarship scheme, like the university it's in, is a very living creature, social creature. It will go on evolving and evolving.
The notion of a significant home for the scholars and the Gates Cambridge Trust has been on the books ever since the scholarship was initiated. Eventually, we settled on what is going to be the new home, which is 17 Mill Lane.
I was really pleased that the trustees approved the proposal to name the house Bill Gates Senior House.
It's only sad that he's not there to see his vision for a Gates house, as he called it, come to fruition.
The Gates Cambridge Scholarship Program is an embodiment of his most cherished beliefs that given the opportunity, human beings will come together, solve the biggest challenges we face, and make the world a better and more humane place for everyone.
There is an anarchy about Cambridge that doesn't make it very easy to be Vice-Chancellor necessarily, but it is a community that is engaged on the farthest reaches of scholarship and research and creativity. And I think that Bill Jr. saw that, recognized that, appreciated that.
He was genuinely interested in creating something that had meaningful impact globally, finding the best students and giving them the opportunity of a lifetime. He could have chosen any institution in the world to do this, and to his great credit, and to ours, he chose Cambridge.
My dad, Bill Gates Sr., once said that of all the grants we ever made, this was his favorite. Even though he's no longer with us, our foundation remains imbued with his spirit, and he lives on here too.
Bill Sr., in the very moving speech that he made, he talks about Cambridge as being this exquisite place. I mean, and the people being so exceptional and so unusual, and that's what it's all about, really.